This is the fourth in a series of home movies to show you how to use the CleverPsych software to manage your psychology practice. At this stage we're going to sort of try and cover a few of the residual things that we haven't looked at in the previous videos. Now when you download the software you end up with three icons. Now the demo icon starts up the demonstration system, which is what we've been using. However, for your data you'll use the CleverPsych icon, and you'll find the first time you open up the real difference will be that you've got no clients already in the database. The third icon is one of the most important because it enables you to access the CleverPsych manual. Now the manual tells you most things about the system, and especially things like configuring it and how you handle a few problems and that sort of thing. So any problems, look at that. So if we start up the demonstration system again, one of the things is you find you'll always get this this background screen here. Now the reason we have this here is that if you have any catastrophic problems with your system, you're likely to get messages appearing in this screen telling you what's wrong. So a good example is if, for example, you haven't installed Java when you first try and run the software, then it'll give you a message in there that'll tell you. And generally you don't care too much about this, but we'll cover some of this, what appears in here, in a moment. So a few things we haven't covered so far. We've talked about appointments at length, but we also have a concept of a service, which appears here. Now the idea of a service was really to try and handle all the other odds and ends that weren't appointments. Now the obvious one is doing reports. So you can set up a service according to a list of types of reports, for example, you put in, and for each of these you can configure it to put your default price in and so on. Now there's also a time associated with it, and what this enables you to do is if you decide, okay, I'm going to spend 2 hours on the 25th of March at this time writing this report or doing part of this report, then you can do a new service, and it goes to the database and it appears in your diary. So just another way of handling some things you do. Now a few other things. We've talked about how you set up letters and so on. We also apply, as one of the templates to supply is the example template, and it contains all the types, all the strings, all the things you can put into a report. And so if you want to start off creating a letter and there's a few things you can't see in existing letters, you'll usually create a letter by cloning a current template. You can look in here and it'll show you what you need to put in to do the letters you want. Also we have a client notes. We had an idea that perhaps you might want a standard way of putting some notes into the system, and it's about it there. Reports, a lot of other things. So you might produce a report, say, of appointment totals. One thing you can do in reports is you can load the last report that you did into Word. So there it is in Word, and having got it in Word, of course, you can then, if you want to edit some other stuff and you know, produce it as a letter or whatever you want to do. Now, a couple of things about configuring your system. The main configuration file contains quite a few things, some of which we've talked about. The list of your letters and so on templates goes at the top. Other things we haven't talked about are you come in here to set up your email, and you've got to put in your user and your password and your mail host and all this sort of thing. This is basically the same information as you put into Outlook, and you can get the values out of Outlook. We can also use Gmail if you want to. Now, you may not be able to see this very well, but if you edit it, you'll find it's got comments through this, and if you look in the manual, it'll tell you more about it. It's also information about setting up your SMS. We use a provider, and your provider will have you can get an account with a provider off the net. There's a couple we've used are mentioned here. Now, you usually set up an account and you tell them the email you have configured in here, so they know who the requests are coming from, and you put in the email address of your provider and so on. Now, the way these SMS work is if you want to send an SMS to a number of 12345, then you send mail to 12345 at your provider's email address, and that's what the software does. So it uses email to send the request to the provider, who then sends out the SMS. Then the person can reply, and it'll come back to you either to your phone usually, or you can get it back to your own email. They work in different ways. There's also sending out reminders by SMS. You can configure when you want to send it out. There's a couple here. There's one for the evening before, and there's one in the morning. If it goes out the evening before, it won't go in the morning, but if it fails the evening before, it will get sent out in the morning. And there's a few other odds and ends in here. Okay, next we'll have a look at a little bit about the file system. We're really getting into the nitty-gritty here, but I think it might be better if we do that as another video.